Alright, what up everybody? It's your boy Akin and welcome to the Pro Football Exclusive Fantasy Football Blog. Continuing on with my rankings for each position for the 2014 Fantasy Football season. Now for today, I'm going to give you two blogs of my top 20 wide receivers. And for part one, Peter talked about numbers 20 through 11. Now before I start heading into my top 20, I'd like to give you some honorable mentions, players who just missed the list. Starting off with Sammy Watkins from the Buffalo Bills. I think he has a clear opportunity to lead the division, the AFC East division, in receiving yards as a true rookie, and I think that he would definitely lead the team. I project him to definitely lead the team at least in receiving yards and be that #1 target for EJ Manuel. Sticking with the AFC East division, Julian Edelman out of the New England Patriots. He had a great year last season, over 100 catches and over 1,000 yards. Now the reason why I could put him in my top 20 is because I'm not 100% confident that he will duplicate what he did this year, what he did last season. I'm not really 100% confident. I would have to keep an eye on him week after week to see how he performs. Possibly he could be a good pickup in the later rounds for this year's fantasy football draft and possibly become a top 20 receiver for 2015. Sticking in the AFC, T.Y. Hilton out of the Indianapolis Colts, and I think he's a great player, and I think he could be due for a breakthrough season for at least 1,300 yards receiving. He is definitely a good, hard-working wide receiver, and I think he could be due for an outstanding year with Andrew Luck as his quarterback. And last but not least, Eric Decker from the New York Jets. I think he was a good pickup for the G-Man for the Jets. I said G-Man, I didn't mean the Giants. I meant the Jets. I think this was a good pickup. Hopefully he can prove spectators wrong and how he could become the #1 target for their quarterbacks, either Michael Vick or Geno Smith or whoever is under center. I think he could be a great target, and I think he could crack the top 20 this season, but I couldn't put him there because I'm not really 100% confident at the quarterback position of who would throw him the football. And those are just a couple of players who just missed my list. Now I'm going to start, and also Anquan Bolton from the San Francisco 49ers. He had a great year leading the team in receiving, but the reason why I couldn't put him in my top 20 is because of the return of Michael Crabtree. Now I'm going to start things off with my top 20. Headed for the Minnesota Vikings, Cordero Patterson. I think he's an outstanding player, and I think he'd become an excellent replacement from Percy Harvin, who is now a Seattle Seahawk. And he actually showed a lot of spark last season in return yards, punt, and kickoff return. But I think he could have a breakthrough season as a receiver for the Vikings. At number 19, I just mentioned him just a second ago, Percy Harvin from the Seattle Seahawks. Now he missed pretty much of all of last season, but he did show up in the Super Bowl, in which he did have a kick return, ran back for a touchdown, and hopefully he could be a key future and a key franchise type player at the receiver position for the Seahawks. At number 18, another player I just mentioned earlier, Michael Crabtree from the San Francisco 49ers. Now, please, I beg him, please have at least one full healthy season. I think he could be due for a great year, but I'm really concerned about his durability, and I think he's a talented player. A couple seasons ago, he did have over 1,000 yards, but hopefully he can have his best season yet this year and be that #1 target for Colin Kaepernick. At number 17, I'm going to go with Deshaun Jackson from the Washington Redskins. Now, he had his best season yet in his career last season with 82 receptions and 1,332 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns. He actually placed 10th overall in points according to ESPN. Now, even though Pierre Garçon should probably be the #1 target for the Washington Redskins because RG3 and Garçon has a good relationship, and Pierre Garçon was a great proven receiver last year, I think that Steven Jackson become a good, solid #2 receiver behind Pierre Garçon. At number 16, I'm going to go with Victor Cruz from the New York Giants. Now, the reason why he had a little bit of a down year, he had just under 1,000 yards receiving last season, was because of the poor performance from Eli Manning and that offensive line for the New York Giants. And I think because of that, that's why Victor Cruz's stats dwindled just a little bit. I think he could get back to 1,000 yards this season, but Eli Manning needs to do a better job throwing the football. He had over 20 interceptions last season. At number 15, I'm going to go to Arizona Cardinals and Larry Fitzgerald. I think he's a great player. 10 touchdown receptions last season, but just 954 yards receiving. Not bad. I think he could definitely crack the 1,000-yard mark this upcoming season. I think he could be climbing up pretty well, and I think that him and Carson Palmer could be a good, underrated quarterback or receiver duo. At number 14, I'm going to go with Randall Cobb from the Green Bay Packers. Now, he missed most of last season due to a broken leg, but he came back in the final week in which he actually posted 17 fantasy points with 2 touchdown receptions and just over 50 yards receiving in that final week 17 victory over the Chicago Bears. And I think that he can make the excellent comeback. And also, during those first a couple of weeks that he did play during the season, he had 2 100-yard games receiving in those first couple of weeks. And I think that because of that, he should definitely crack my top 15. And I think if he has a healthy season and he keeps his speed up, which he should and will, by the way, I think he'll become an excellent pick, at least by the 5th round of this year's NFL Fantasy League drafts. At number 13, I'm going to go with Keenan Allen from the San Diego Chargers. Now, he struggled for the first 4 games of the season, but then he blossomed, in which he had over 1,000 yards receiving and 8 scores. I think he could become that great #1 target that Philip Rivers has been looking for in recent seasons, other than Antonio Gates, but they really need a good #1 target at receiving, and I think Keenan Allen has the opportunity and will be that guy. At number 12, I have to go with Pierre Garçon for the Washington Redskins. Now, had they not picked up Deshaun Jackson during this offseason, Pierre Garçon would have definitely cracked my top 10, possibly my top 8 overall receivers. And here's another bold prediction for you guys. I honestly believe if Kirk Cousins was under center, Pierre Garçon is a top 3 receiver in fantasy play. I think because of what his performance for the last couple of weeks, coming towards the end of the season, which he had over 100 yards receiving, it was because Kirk Cousins was under center, and I think that's a great aspect. But they still have their franchise player, and they spent a lot. They gave up a lot of draft picks and spent a lot of money on RG3, so they had to put their investment on RG3. That's why he's over Kirk Cousins. But if Kirk Cousins was under center, I think that Pierre Garçon could be a top 3 receiver in fantasy play. And at number 11, I'm going to go with Vincent Jackson from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, he had over 1,224 yards to be exact in receiving and 7 touchdowns. He placed 13th overall last season, and he definitely cracked the top 100 and top 100 NFL players on NFL Network. I think he's a great receiver, and I think with him, tutoring Mike Evans, I think these 2 players could be a good 1-2 tandem, a good receiver tandem for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for Mike Glennon or Josh McCown, whoever is at quarterback. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys is later on today. I'm going to upload a second video in which I'm going to give you my top 10 wide receivers. Thank you for watching this blog from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Akin. Be easy.